VermontCareerFair.com.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The energy.
So the barber trims my beard all nice, like an artist. Now, I didn't tell him to do that. I wanted the beard gone. So then I went home and shaved it off completely after I was done. I felt horrible.
The passion.
Rafael Devers is the biggest contract in franchise history. He needs to be a leader for this Red Sox team.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
Are the Patriots close to playoff contention? Yes. Are they close to Super Bowl contention? Hell no.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show back at it here on a Wednesday. Short show today, 40 minutes on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We're brought to you by Fecto Homes. You can get in on the text line, 802-585-3026. Tom Caron, our Sox insider at NESN, is going to be with us here in about 15 minutes. Talk about last night's wild Red Sox victory. A really fun game against the Minnesota Twins. We got some Bruins news, etc. So let's kind of hit all the key points before we get you out of here 40 minutes from now. Let me take a victory lap for a second. I told you yesterday, I thought the Celtics would win by 15 points. I told you that I predicted the score would be 122-107. Well, it was 119-104, which is a 15-point disparity, 3 points off on each side. That's pretty damn good. And then Jason Tatum had to turn it over at the end, and DeJounte Murray had to go and take a meaningless layup to make it 13 points, and the final score was 119-106. But still, I was pretty damn close on the prediction. I had a 15-point victory. I had 122-107. We end up at 119-106. So we're pretty much, 122-107 would have been what? 239 on the overall point total. 119-106 was... or no, 229, I think it would. I was off by just a handful of points. I'm pretty darn good. I almost got the exact over-under point total right, and I nearly got the margin of victory right. So that's me gloating. Me just now talking about the game. This series is over. Like, I told you the Celtics were going to win in 5. I knew the series was over before it started. But this series is over. The Atlanta Hawks have given their best shot. They're done. They may get a token game in Atlanta in front of the home crowd. That's what usually happens. That's why I predicted the Celtics to win in 5, not in 4. But this series is over. Atlanta has given their best punch. In game 1, they couldn't beat the Celtics straight up. So what did I call for in game 2? I said Atlanta needs to come out, get a lead early, get some confidence, get some rhythm. They did that. And they still got beat by 13. The Atlanta Hawks were up, like I think I even called for this, 18-8 at the 6-minute mark of the first quarter yesterday. They were up 10, ended up losing by 13. Atlanta out-rebounded the Celtics. Atlanta hit 16 threes, and they still lost by double digits. It's over. It's over. This is just a formality now, these next few games. You still have to play hard. You still have to take care of business. But the next couple of games are a formality. The Celtics are going to roll. Tatum, 29. Derek White, 26. C's hit 15 threes on their own. The only thing that can impact the Celtics at this point is Jaylen Brown's hand. And I don't even know if that's a big deal, at least for this series. Atlanta's just not as good. Atlanta doesn't have enough size. Atlanta's guards collectively are not good enough. Murray's playing very well. But I hope you're now seeing what I see in Trae Young. I got a lot of grief earlier in the week for not being a Trae Young fan. Well, look, he was minus 18 yesterday in the plus minus. He went 9 of 22 from the floor. He went 2 of 8 from 3. He only had 3 total rebounds. He had 5 turnovers. I mean, that's it. I hope you're seeing what I see. A player that you cannot be your star. He cannot be your focal point. Trae Young, I'm sure, at some point in his career, can be a useful player on a really good team. In the same way that Carmelo Anthony was a good player on a decent team at the end, and the way that James Harden is a good role player on a team now, that's going to have to be Trae Young. He is not a focal point guy. Not efficient enough, too small, too much of a volume player, not efficient. And he went 2 of 8 from 3. Trae Young wants to be a guy who can let it fly like Steph Curry from anywhere, and he's not that guy. He just isn't. And I hope you're all getting that now, and you'll acknowledge that I was right about this. This series is over. The Atlanta Hawks are absolutely cooked. Let me move over to the Red Sox, because that game was really fun to watch last night. And I had them both on simultaneously last night, right? I had the Celtics on the big TV. I had the Red Sox on the tablet. I went back and forth as far as which ones were on the volume. But last night's Red Sox game was a blast. Let's start with Chris Sale. Chris Sale was awesome. I don't know that Chris Sale can be the Chris Sale of old ever again. In fact, I would say it's likely that he's not. But he showed you that he has the ability to be something still. And that was huge. Peter and Wilson yesterday on the text line called it maybe the biggest start of Sale's career. I downplayed that. I still don't think it was. But it was a hell of a start for him in terms of his confidence and in terms of what this team can count on him for moving forward. Chris Sale did everything you'd want yesterday. He got ahead of batters, didn't walk many guys. He had the stretch where he walked a guy and hit a guy, but he had 11 strikeouts. He threw strikes. He put guys away, 11 Ks, threw the fastball, inner half, hit with the slider. Chris Sale did everything. He was awesome. And I don't need him to be that every time out. But if he can be that light every time out, he's the Red Sox best starter, which is exactly what he needs to be. I still have questions about his health. You still have questions about his durability. You still don't know if he's going to make 30 starts. All that's fair. But if he can come out and give you some version of that, you're doing well. Another thing that made the game so fun yesterday was the craziness of it. I have never seen more catcher's interferences in my life. Well, we had 2 in the same inning the other day against the Angels, and now you got 1 in the 8th inning yesterday when I think Reese McGuire's at the plate, and catcher's interference. This was one of the weirdest plays I've ever seen. And I told you I was watching this game on mute, so I wasn't watching it. I wasn't listening to it in real time. It took me a long time to figure out what had happened. So if you remember this play, there's a runner at second and 1 out. The Red Sox are down 2-1 in the 8th. So McGuire, catcher's interference, but he hits the ball, and they throw to first base. Kike Hernandez runs to third. So here's the way catcher's interference works. If the ball gets put in play on catcher's interference, you have a choice. Do you want to take the catcher's interference, which would be McGuire going to first and Kike Hernandez getting to stay at second? Or you can take the result of the play. Like if it's catcher's interference and you homer, you're going to get the home run. So what I thought was happening was that the Red Sox were going to end up with Kike Hernandez at third and McGuire was going to be out because that was the result of the play. But it turned out that Solano, the first baseman for the Twins, never touched first base. So the result of the play was McGuire at first and Kike to third. I was confused as all hell for a little while about that because I was thinking, like, what is going on? Like, the result of the play is McGuire's out, there's 2 outs, and Hernandez went to third. Or it's the interference call, which is McGuire at first and Kike stays at second. Or Kike goes to second because Kike had started at first, I believe, in that play. So I'm all confused. I was texting Tom Caron about it. I'm like, I think the umpire got this wrong. I don't know what's going on here. Only then when I finally put the sound on did I realize exactly what had happened, which was there was no actual out made at first base there on McGuire. Wild. And then you get the extra innings where Kike swings through strike three, gets on the drop third strike. You get the double play, which, you're thinking it's going to end the game. You get Verdugo to come to the plate, and the ball looks like it's going to be 9 miles foul. It hits the wall. The wall is oriented weirdly where the pole and the striping on the pesky pole there are not even. And I'm like, well, it's fair by this and foul by that. Then you got Verdugo cursing up a storm after the game. Weird game, fun game, but all in all, a great win. Those are the kind of games you have to win. If you are going to surprise people, if you are going to keep your fans interested, if you are going to stay around the race longer than you should, you got to win games like that. And the Red Sox did it. The Twins are a good team. The Twins are a very good team. And the Red Sox beat them yesterday in the opening game of a series, and that was excellent. Great start from Sale. Bullpen good enough. Schreiber was not great in the 10th. But Verdugo steps up. You got the Sonny Gray early. Sox could have, would have, should have scored earlier. Or scored more earlier. They had chances. Texter says Verdugo's post-game interview was hilarious. It was a great win for the Red Sox. It was. Tex says maybe Sale will be a trade bait at the deadline if the Sox aren't in contention. Yeah, I don't know. He's got $50 million still to come. I don't think he's trade bait. I mean, I think even if he's looking great, you still would have questions about him. You would still have questions about him. I don't know about that. That's not a terrible idea. I just don't see it going that way. Verdugo's been really good. For a guy who was challenged early in the year or at the end of last year by Alex Cora, Verdugo has been really, really good. He's put the ball in play. He's hit the ball with some thump, not so much for home runs, but he's led off the game with triples. He's led off the game with doubles. He's put the ball in play. He's driven it to the gap. He's hit it to both sides of the field. Verdugo's done a really good job. And he's kind of done the things that I thought Yoshida would do. And Yoshida hasn't done them yet. And Yoshida's out of the lineup tonight, spoiler. But Verdugo's kind of been the guy I was expecting Yoshida to be. A guy who's a gap-to-gap player, who can go to all fields, who can cover the plate, and who can provide a spark. And that is what Verdugo's been doing. He has been a spark. And I was against him being at the top of the order. Well, when he's there, he's done some really good things as well. He has been completely he's just been a good player for this team. And he's been a player who's taken the next step or has shown signs of taking the next step, which is what this team needed. Absolutely. This is the Brady Farkas Show. We're brought to you by Fecto Homes on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Let's talk to a guy who was there last night. That is Tom Caron, our Red Sox insider over at NESN. Red Sox win yesterday to move to 9-9 on the season. TC, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well as well. I got to say, last night was one of the weirder Red Sox games I remember. How about those Fenway ballpark dimensions coming into play? Because Verdugo hits the ball and it is on the fair side of the yellow stripe, but on the foul side of the pole. Why are those two things not even?
Well, they actually are, but it's lined up to the hitter, right? So when you look at it from the camera angle or anywhere else, it looks like it's off. You might remember we had that weird thing in Kansas City last year where I was up on the foul pole during the game. And it's a very similar thing. So they try to make it so the line continues down towards home plate. But when you're there, if you're the right fielder facing the pole with the green monster behind you, there's definitely a gap between the yellow line and the pole. So it gets very strange.
Well, a fascinating game. Sox get the walk-off win. Look, Alex Verdugo's not suitable for work post-game show with Jemai Webster aside. This is kind of a breakout for Verdugo. I'm not saying he's the Mookie Betts replacement we hoped he would be, but he's certainly answering Alex Cora's challenge.
No, that's exactly right. He's not Mookie Betts, nor should you ever compare him to Mookie Betts. But he is becoming the Alex Verdugo they thought they were getting. I mean, I remember, and I've told you this, I sat with Alex Cora this offseason. We got together just to catch up and talk about some things. And I asked him point blank, what's the number one thing you want to see change that'll help this team? And he said Alex Verdugo to become the player he can be. And you're seeing it. You know, his shoulder's healthy. That's a big thing. Last couple of years, dealt with the shoulder, wasn't 100%. Told me he had trouble driving the ball to the opposite field. And even though that was hooked and kept fair on the right field pole, it's his ability to go gap to gap. Told me spring training he's going to try to hit 50 doubles this year. And Cora said last night, you know, this is a guy who had kind of gone the Andrew Benintendi route. Remember Benintendi 1 year just came back bigger, slower, stronger, but striking out more. That's kind of the Verdugo you had last year. And now Verdugo's back a little leaner, a little more athletic, and he is driving the ball. He has been fun to watch.
You know, I'm not a country music guy, really, but I think there's some famous lyric out there. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. That was Chris Sale last night. 11 strikeouts. He's pumping 95, 96 miles an hour. By and large, he threw more strikes in general and more quality strikes. I don't know that he can do that every time out, TC, but the glimpse was there yesterday. Awfully optimistic today.
Well, I mean, he can't strike out 11 every time. We know that. But can he be that guy again? Why not? I mean, why can't he? He's got the velocity. You know, Chaim Bloom was on the show last night, and he said, if you'd have told me this offseason, forget the results, but if you'd have told me that he was throwing 95, 96 miles an hour and was able to go 5-6 innings in a game, I wouldn't care what the results were. I would take them. Now, he's been getting hammered, okay? The fastball prior to last night was absolutely getting hammered, and his slider had lost a lot of its break, down from like 15, 16 inches of break to 11 and a half. That's a major change. He put in a lot of work. There's a reason Cora gave him a couple of extra days off before the last start, an extra day off before last night. He said after the game he spent more time on the mound between starts than he ever has in his life. But that's because he was working on the slider. Seems to have that back under control. And maybe that's the confidence that carried over to his fastball. But, man, he had everything working last night.
You know, TC, we say, I think, and pretty fairly, that every baseball team is going to win 60 games for the most part. Every baseball team is going to lose 60 games for the most part. It's the other 40 that kind of decide where your season's going to go. And yesterday's Red Sox win was in that other 40. And I look at like my Mariners, who are all of a sudden 0-4 in extra innings, 4 games that could have gone their way of that other 40. How important is it to win singular games like last night?
Well, they're important that you win those kind of games, but the way they won it, I think, is even more important. Down in the 8th inning, a weird catches and miss. They got to lead the league in hitting catches miss, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. And they're all in the 8th inning in tight games. And so, you know, the way they get that play, Kike Hernandez with a really heads-up play. You and I were texting right after the play that half of us didn't understand how he got third base. Well, that's because they never got the out at first. If you got the out at first, then has to take the catcher's interference. It's a dead ball. Kike goes back to second. But because he pulled his foot off the bag, Solano walked away from the play. He was safe at first. Then you can choose the outcome instead. And that allowed Kike to go to the third base, scores on a fielder's choice. They tied the game. And then after giving up 2 runs, Schreiber for the first time this year has nothing in the top of the 9th, gives up 2 runs. They come back. A double play that could have derailed it doesn't get in the way because Verdugo walks it off. It's the kind of win that galvanizes a team. Doesn't mean you're going to come back and win tomorrow. But it means that there's a little something special, a little bit of late inning confidence starting to build. They've got 3 wins this season already when they're trailing after 7 innings. That speaks well.
Tom Caron, Red Sox Bruins insider over at NESN with us here, the Brady Farkas Show on this Wednesday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. TC, I think we're all in agreement that we like the rule changes that have happened in the pace of play and the action, et cetera. I do have a question for you, and I honestly don't know the way that this should be fixed, but I hate the umpire coming out to call a pitch clock violation on the pitcher while he's in the middle of his delivery. I'm convinced that Ryan Tepera for the Angels got hurt on Saturday afternoon because he had to stop his motion full throttle, decelerate, not throw the ball, and 2 batters later, he's out of the game. I think that's a serious injury risk. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I do, and we've been talking a lot about that behind the scenes. Someone's going to get really hurt, or drill somebody, drill an umpire, right? We already saw that in the outfield once this year. But walk back, walk away, walk to the dugout. Just don't come out in front. If you throw the pitch, it's meaningless. Go ahead and throw the pitch. It's like it's like prior to this year when a batter would call time last second and the pitcher would throw it in. I don't know. Do the Fenway lights strobe when he calls it? Cue the music from Curb Your Enthusiasm when you miss it, right? It just blasts through the speaker. But there's got to be a better way to tell everybody than trying to have the guy in mid windup put on the brakes.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. Hey, you mentioned your talk yesterday with High and Bloom. I listened to that. I thought it was great. Good stuff on Sale. Also good stuff on Trevor Story. Look, he's already started throwing. He's already taking grounders. He's going to hit in the next 10 days. I know he's going to need a full ramp-up period and a rehab assignment, but it certainly seems like the All-Star break is attainable.
Yeah, I think so. I do. And I know they won't say that, but he's kind of hinted towards that all along. He told me in spring training, it's sooner rather than later, he said. And again, sooner, I think, is All-Star break, right? I mean, you can give him another month of just building up and then give him a month of a rehab, and you're still ready to go with the All-Star break. So, barring any setbacks, that guy, I don't know if you'll see him play shortstop at all this year or ever again. Maybe he's better at second base now with the surgically repaired elbow. But let's get him out there and hit, because the guy's got power. We got glimpses of it at Fenway last year. He would be a huge. Imagine Trevor Story and Adam Duvall coming back around the All-Star break. How much better is this lineup?
Lineup certainly better. Talk to me about the rotation. We had talked about a 6-man rotation. You said Alex Cora didn't like it. Now it looks like maybe they are using a 6-man rotation. Now James Paxton's coming back. He might be a bullpen arm. He's working as the long guy after an opener at AAA. What's happening with Paxton?
Yeah, after that Orioles series to begin the season, when they'd given up 24 runs in 3 games, whatever it was. Tell me that we'd be sitting here 2 weeks later saying they have too many starting pitchers. But that's kind of where we are, and it's a good thing. I mean, Cutter Crawford showed you the other day he's got to get consideration along the way, which is why they're going 6 for now. Paxton is going to come out of the bullpen tonight in Worcester, which is really interesting. He's never done that. I think they want to see just how he handles getting ready. Doesn't matter. He's going to go 5 innings, I think, either way. So why not see if he has a hard time getting ready, getting loose without that, set 7:05 start time for him. And maybe he comes back in the bullpen to give you a little long relief and give you a lefty out of the bullpen, which they could use. They've got a lot of moving parts. They've got some tough decisions to make. Obviously, Whitlock showed you he can stay. They're going to give Bayo a lot of runway. Sales shows he's back. Pavetta's been good by and large. And then you kind of cobble it together. But I'll tell you this, bullpen's going to be a whole lot better if Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck end up in this bullpen. All of a sudden, it's not just a better rotation, it's a better pitching staff.
Bruins game 2 tonight against the Florida Panthers. They win game 1 by a score of 3-1. That's right. Hockey playoff Brady is back. I watched the entire game. And TC, for as little as I know about technical hockey strategy, I can tell you that when you are the team looking to pull an upset, it's not wise to go in the penalty box twice in the first 10 minutes like Florida did the other day.
No, it's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah.
And also having a goalie who just kind of misses the puck with the glove in a tie game isn't a real good strategy either. I think that by and large, if you ask the Bruins today what they really thought about Monday's game, they would tell you that they were outplayed for most of that game. That was a relentless forecheck Florida threw at you. Second period, it felt like the Bruins just couldn't get it out of the zone, right? Yet they came away with the lead, and you can't help but wonder if that was the best shot that the Panthers had to knock off the Bruins. If they'd have won that game, this would be a whole different conversation. We'd be talking about the pressure. Instead, the Bruins didn't have anything close to their best effort, didn't have their best player, had a sick goalie in net, and they're up 1-0. So I think that is... If you're Jim Montgomery, right, if anybody was worried about complacency after a historic season, that first game allowed you to tell them on Tuesday, listen, boys, if you play like that, you're not going to win the cup. You better get it together. And the refocused Bruins team is going to be a nightmare for the Panthers.
The Celtics have a game advantage on this, but which series goes longer, Bruins or Celtics?
Boy, that's a good one. Right now they're feeling both like sweeps, aren't they? I think the Panthers got a better chance to pull off a knockout punch. I think the Panthers could win one down in Florida. I like the forecheck, and And the way they're matching up, it's an ugly kind of slog down game to slow down the Bruins. And if they get when they get the last change down in Florida, I think they'll be able to get the matchup. So I think the Celtics sweep. I think the Bruins win in 5. I will tell you this, not that we overreact much in Boston, okay? But coming into the playoff run for both teams, the narrative on sports radio down here was which fan base is going to be more upset when the team loses, the Bruins or the Patriots. I swear to God, yesterday morning as I was driving in, I heard a talk show here talk about whether or not they should have 2 parades or save it and have the Celtics and Bruins on the duck boats together after they both win the final. So the pendulum is swinging pretty back and forth here.
Rare confidence on Boston Sports Radio. TC, enjoy the game.
Well, talk to me after somebody loses a game. But for now, we're feeling pretty good.
Enjoy the game tonight for the Sox. Hopefully they can make it 2 straight and 5 of 6, I believe. So we'll talk next week.
Good stuff, Brady. Thanks.
Absolutely. There goes Tom Caron, our Red Sox and Bruins insider over at NESN. Patrice Bergeron won't play today. There's your Bruins update. And now they're saying it is because of injury. It's not because of illness. So we were told before game 1, we thought it was more illness related, but it turns out it is more injury related. So we'll have to monitor that. This team may not need Bergeron tonight. They may not need Bergeron in this series, but they need Bergeron if they want to win a title. Texter says, great point about the pitchers and the pitch clock. Yeah, this is something that is bothering me. I've seen this a few times now. The pitch clock has done a lot of good. What I don't love is when umpires come out as a pitcher's in his motion and call for the violation, because you are at serious risk there. These are big grown people going through violent pitching motions, getting ready to throw at 100 miles an hour, and then being asked to stop mid-delivery. It's very hard on your shoulder to get going and then decelerate that way. It's why so often you would see when a batter would call time late, the pitcher would still throw it. That's what's going to have to happen here. I am convinced that Tepera of the Angels got hurt the other day because of that. Right? He gets called for a pitch clock violation. He has to stop mid-delivery, and 2 or 3 batters later, he's out there pointing at his shoulder. That is an injury risk. I saw Justin Verlander's brother, Ben, who's a media personality now, point that out in spring training, and they didn't give it much thought. Well, seeing it now in practice, I'm giving it thought. That is something that's going to have to get addressed. Maybe the umpire does just walk away. Maybe the umpire steps back. I do not know the answer to it, but I know that it's an injury risk. And the last thing I want are Red Sox pitchers getting hurt because they were a half second too late and on the pitch clock, and the umpire got out and went crazy about it. Deliver the pitch on time, yes. But if you're in your delivery, maybe you let it go. I don't know, but I know it's an injury risk, and I know I don't want it being done to Red Sox players. I'm convinced that's why Tepera got hurt. As TC says, it's not so much. So he thinks it's not so much that the Red Sox won, it's how they won, showing another ability to come from behind. 3 wins after the 7th inning. That is all good. I still like that they won, that they were able to overcome some stuff. They came back late. They benefited from the catcher's interference. They used it to their advantage. A great at bat by Casas in the 10th, I think, 2 strikes. Yeah, in the 10th, he draws the walk. There was a lot of good stuff in yesterday's Red Sox game, in addition to Verdugo and Sale. And then the good news about Trevor Story as well. If the Red Sox are hanging around, you get Trevor Story back, then I would allow you to dream. I would dare you to dream. I mean, look, my Mariners have started horrible. The Angels are very average. The White Sox have started terrible. A lot of teams we thought would be in the mix for the playoffs right now aren't. The Red Sox can hang around, and then you get Story back? Okay, maybe. Red Sox and Twins are coming up about 10 minutes from now. We will give you the Red Sox lineups for today, and we'll get you ready again for the Bruins against the Panthers as they get ready to play at 7:30 tonight. It is the Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Fecto Homes on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com, and we are always streaming on the free WDEV radio app. Yes, the app is 100% free. Take us anywhere. Take us in your pocket, and you can listen to us all the time.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. A controversial case that could roll back FDA approval of a popular abortion pill has been delayed by the Supreme Court till Friday. Legal analyst Jessica Levinson.
I think what it strongly suggests is that this is a divided opinion or a divided decision, and that they're giving each other time to write a majority and a dissent. And we don't know who the angry dissent is going to come from at this point.
The decision could ultimately stop sales or limit access to the pill nationwide. Someone in the IRS wants to tell Congress the criminal investigation into Hunter Biden's taxes is being mishandled. CBS's Jim Axelrod.
The special agent is alleging that his investigation was improperly interfered with. Now, CBS News has learned the target of this investigation is Hunter Biden.
He wants legal protections before talking, and you can catch the rest of that interview tonight on CBS Evening News. Investigators say 2 teens will be tried as adults for allegedly shooting up a party in Alabama. State Sergeant Jeremy Burkett.
This is Alabama, and when you pull out a gun and you start shooting people, we're going to put you in jail.
4 people died, dozens were injured. The 84-year-old man accused of shooting a teenager in Kansas City has pleaded not guilty in court. He's facing assault charges for shooting the 16-year-old who showed up at his house by mistake. A wild story out of Maine where a man's been arrested for killing 4 people, then going on a shooting spree on a busy highway. State Police Colonel Bill Ross.
He gave a confession and admitted to killing his parents and his parents' friends. He admitted to killing his parents, David and Cynthia, and their friends, Robert and Patricia.
He says he turned himself in because he didn't want police to follow him. U.S.-made Patriot missile systems have arrived in Ukraine. Here's CBS's Linda Kenyon.
Ukraine's defense minister released a statement that reads, "Today, our beautiful Ukrainian sky becomes more secure because Patriot air defense systems have arrived in Ukraine." Other Ukrainian military officials have called the Patriot missile systems a game changer as Russia continues to bombard Ukrainian cities and power supply infrastructure.
Facebook users could cash in.
Anyone who has used Facebook in the last 16 years has a shot at part of a $725 million settlement. The money comes from multiple lawsuits brought by users who claim the company improperly shared their data with third-party sources, including advertisers and data brokers. You just have to fill out a form.
CBS's Allison Keyes tells us those users, though, may not get the money till later this year. This is CBS News.
Streamline how you hire with Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in the same place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, with a belief that local businesses like WDEV build strong communities.
Do you own land with a single or double wide home? Visit Fecto Homes, where they can guarantee you top dollar for your existing mobile home, regardless of the year. They offer many finance options with competitive rates and down payment assistance exclusively for mobile homes. Fecto Homes has several models for sale off the lot or customize and order your own. Make the most of your time and money. Visit them today at 350 River Street, Route 302 in Montpelier, or online at fectohomes.com.
A satisfied customer is the best source for repeat business and enthusiastic referrals. Marvin has earned its reputation by building windows and doors that you and your clients can count on. As a builder, when you choose to partner with RK Miles, you can rely on the most comprehensive support and service from the beginning to the end of your project. We have a vested interest in your reputation, which is why we recommend quality products like Marvin Windows and Doors. Visit us at rkmiles.discovermarvin.com.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Hi, folks. This is Peter Burke. Join Joel Nashman and me in the garden Saturdays at 12:30. Don't try to do it alone in your garden. Call in with questions for advice or just to share your successes in the garden.
Brought to you in part by The Willie's Store, family owned since 1900 in Greensboro. Holly Construction, Gregory Drive, South Burlington. One call does it all. And your locally owned Montpelier Agway, East Montpelier Road.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yeah.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here at WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Red Sox baseball comes up about 5 minutes from now. Great conversation with Tom Caron. You know, it's interesting. TC says he doesn't think the Bruins played that well in game one. I thought they played pretty well. And I guess that is the difference between someone who watches hockey with a critical eye like TC does and someone who watches hockey more casually. I thought the Bruins controlled play a lot. Yes, the Panthers put on a pretty good rush at some point. Yes, the Panthers had spurts where they were really going hard, and Brad Marchand talked about that after the game. But I thought the Bruins largely controlled it. I thought they were relentless. I thought they capitalized on mistakes. They stayed out of the box. I know Florida had more shots, but overall, I thought the Bruins played fairly well, especially for not having one of their best players. Now, TC said their best player. We could argue that Pasternak is certainly their most skilled player. Maybe Bergeron's their most important player, but I thought the Bruins played well. So if TC is saying he thinks there's many more levels for them to go, then I'll feel good about that. 7:30 tonight. Florida is 1-6 in franchise history when losing game one of a series or when trailing in the after game one of a series. So certainly history is on the side of the Bruins. I don't really care too much about stats like that. Like, that's not this Panthers team, but good to know just that controlling game one can lead to such positive outcomes. So certainly good there. Bruins and Panthers tonight at 7:30. Boston seeking their 32nd 2-0 lead in team history. They've won 25 of the previous 31. So history again on the Bruins side, that if they can go up 2-0, they'll have a pretty good chance to cash in on the series. All right, let's get to the Red Sox lineups. Pitching matchup is Corey Kluber against Joe Ryan. Kluber's 0-3 with a 6.92 ERA this year. I want to see him get into the sixth inning. I don't know that he can do it against this lineup, but he's got to give some depth. He's got to give some length to his starts. They've been taking him out a lot after 5, if he even makes it to that point. So Ryan is very good, 3-0 with a 2.84. He was dominant last year against the Red Sox at Fenway, and he's been very, very good this season. The lineup behind Joe Ryan is this. The Twins are 10-7, by the way. Max Kepler leads off in right. Carlos Correa still slow out of the chute, hitting just 220. He is the shortstop. He hits second. Byron Buxton's the DH, hitting 224. Trevor Larnach is in left field, hitting just 237. Edouard Julien, one of the Twins' top prospects, the Canadian, he is out at second base today, and he hits fifth. Jose Miranda is the third baseman. He hits 6. Joey Gallo is at first. Ryan Jeffers, the former Upper Valley Nighthawk, is the catcher. And Michael A. Taylor is in center. For the Red Sox, Alex Verdugo plays right. Raimel Tapia is in center today. Justin Turner's the DH. Devers is at third. Kike Hernandez is back at shortstop. Reese McGuire is the catcher. Tristan Casas at first. Jaron Duran is in left. And how about the major league debut of one Emmanuel Valdez? This is the guy, 24 years old, they got from the Houston Astros last year in the Christian Vasquez trade. Vasquez not playing tonight for the Twins. We saw him yesterday, but Emmanuel Valdez making his major league debut tonight. He's got some pop to him. He's going to hit in that 9 spot. Christian Arroyo still injured with that hamstring issue. No injured list trip, though, coming for Arroyo. So that is good. Looks like maybe Valdez will just be here through the weekend. Yu Chang was put on the paternity list, so that's what allowed Valdez to get up. So, by the way, good for Duran yesterday. Swinging the bat pretty well. Looked good in spring training. We didn't see him much in the World Baseball Classic. Had a double yesterday with some authority. We know about his speed. Maybe this is the time where Duran can become a useful player as well. We've got day baseball tomorrow, so we'll have a full Brady Farkas show coming up at night. That will be 5:30 until 7. Red Sox baseball is coming up next. Again, the Sox looking to get above 500 for the first time since they were 5-4. They're now 9-9. Joe Ryan and Corey Kluber coming up next here on your Red Sox station, WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com, and always streaming on the free, yes, very, very free WDEV radio app.
It's time for the Mass Mutual Red Sox pregame show. Proudly brought to you by Mass Mutual. Mass Mutual. Insurance, planning, investments.